So welcome everyone. I'm a collector, but I'm not a dealer. And I'm an enthusiastic amateur. And by personalised pencils, I'm going to talk about pencils, not like fountain pens that have had the nib adjusted for your style of handwriting, personalised in that sense, but these are just pencils with somebody's name on it. So I acknowledge that most of you are interested in fountain pens, and with names on fountain pens aren't necessarily popular or considered a positive thing. So I thought I needed to do some research about this matter. So I went online and I found some information from the Fountain Pen Network. And they did a survey, which I've copied out here, complete with their spelling errors. Do you think a name engraved on a pen lowers its value? So people were asked to respond. Will you buy a pen with a name engraved on it? And 33% said, I will not buy a pen. 40% said, I will pay less for a pen with a name on it. 16% said, I don't care if there is a name engraved on a pen. And 10% said, I actually like names engraved on a pen. But generally, it seems amongst fountain pen collectors, it's considered to be a 10 or 20% reduction in the value of a pen if it's got a name on it. But my interest is quite different. And I'm interested in silver pencils from the 19th century. And amongst collectors of antique silver, monograms or dedications are favoured on a piece of silver if they're contemporary with the time of manufacture of the item, not something that's been added on later. So I'm going to show some of my pencils with engravings that have intrigued me and for which I've done some research to try and identify the original owners. So here's a fairly typical Victorian pencil, but this includes a pen holder as well as a mechanical pencil. So the barrel is chased with scroll engraving. So down at the pointy end, you can see there's it's not a fountain pen, it's a dip pen. It's just a pen for dipping into ink. You write a few words, then you have to dip into the ink again. So this is with the nib. So this has both a pen and a pencil. So it has ornate slider buttons. Each one slid into place by the little button that slides along the length of it. It has lead storage in the base or in the back end of it. So this has a shield-shaped seal, which has not been engraved, but it's made of bloodstone or heliotrope. So this pencil is engraved A Hawk's Pool. Like that, A Hawk's Pool. So this pencil has hallmarks. It has the mark for Joseph Adelman, the maker, J.A. It has the lion passant for the an English sterling silver mark. It has the date letter in that Gothic P for 1889, and it has an anchor to show that the silver was tested in Birmingham. So the engraving of the name doesn't have a date, but we know from the manufacturer that this pencil was made in 1889. But I haven't identified the individual that owned this pencil. So Poole is a town on England's south coast in Dorset, and the most famous hawks in Poole in 1889 was the shoe shop, J.A. Hawks and Son. And this was not only Poole's best-known shoe shop, but the business occupied the largest shop front in all of Poole's High Street. So the family-owned business traded from 1847 until 2005, so almost 160 years. And I'm betting that the pencil probably belonged to a member of this family. So here's an Edwardian photo, and it's at 99 High Street, Poole. And we can just see a couple of Edwardian gentlemen in the doorway, and maybe it belonged to them. Yes, yes. Thank you. But it had a ring. Oh no, this one didn't have a ring. This is made just as a pocket pencil. that was just, it didn't attach, this one didn't attach to a chain. But, so this next example is the other main type of silver pencil from the 19th century. So it's a wooden pencil, a cedar pencil inside a silver case. And it has a band to slide the pencil in and out, and a suspension ring up the top to attach it to your fob chain or your waistcoat chains. And yeah. So it's engraved Charles A. Bayer, April 22, 1917. And then this is the same thing with the slider band back at the other end. The pencil slides up inside.
Modern pencil still fitting?
No, no. So it's most collectors of 19th century pencils also seek out the pencils themselves, the refills, because
what's the style difference between the modern and earlier cedar pencils?
Oh, it's just that these are made generally round, and they have a thread on the end of them to screw into the mount. This one,
Actually a bit fatter, I think.
it depends, but this one is probably only, this pencil it's only maybe 6 millimeters across in diameter of the oh, I was wondering whether I would pass things around or save it till the end before I send things around with the pencils. Maybe I'll wait till the end. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So on this one, sorry, it's perhaps the barrel is 10 or 11 millimeters in diameter, and the pencil here is only 6 or 7, I think. So it's quite a narrow one, but it's been manufactured and supplied with a thread fixed onto it so that it's secure in there.
Never taken mine out.
They
aren't too rude, are they?
Yes, but I won't do that at the moment.
I'll check it out.
Yep. Where'd we get to? So we got up to the slightly rubbed hallmarks, I think, here. And so again, this pencil is manufactured by Sampson, Morden and Co., the biggest name in 19th century pencils. And they were in London. So here we see again after SM & Co, it has a lion passant to show that it's sterling silver. These marks are rubbed, but the middle one, the next mark, is actually a leopard's head to show that this was tested in London. And the last of the letter U in this case stands for 1915. So on the slider band itself, the manufacturer's name is printed on that or impressed on that too. So it says Charles A. Bayer. And Charles Albert Bayer was South Australia's chief hydraulic engineer. And he was an authority on sanitary engineering and was responsible for the Adelaide sewerage system and the construction of several large reservoirs throughout South Australia. So in doing my research, most of which is online, I had the advantage, because these silver pencils generally were an expensive gift, they often went to somebody of some consequence, not just your ordinary person in the street. So in looking online, often people can be found because they were somebody. So I make a lot of use of Trove when I'm looking online, and Trove's an online resource, collaboration between the National Library of Australia and hundreds of partner organisations around Australia. So this allows access to vast amounts of information and huge amounts of newspaper records. So published obituaries give a lot of life details, usually all good. And so this is how I found that Charles A. Bayer's date of birth was April 22, 1859. So this pencil was a birthday present, April 22. So I'm sure this belonged to that Charles Albert Bayer. He died in 12th of September 1924. So here's a poor photo, but what a magnificent moustache. So Charles Albert Bayer was born in Berkeley Square in London. His father was Dr. Frederick Charles Bayer, and he came to Australia with his parents when he was 12 months old. But he returned to England when he was 9 and was educated at Hanwell College in Middlesex. And subsequently, he was articled to the firm of Humber's Hydraulic Engineers in Birmingham and became a student at the Institute of Civil Engineers in London. He became a full member of the Institute at the age of 26, and in 1881, he returned to South Australia, and shortly after his arrival, he was appointed sanitary engineer to the South Australian government. So here's another silver-cased wooden pencil. And I had previously shown this pencil to the group before, and I thought, oh dear, I better not show it again. But I think some people haven't seen it. And when I looked it up, it was actually before COVID when I showed this pencil. So that was a long time ago. So again, it's another wooden pencil in a silver barrel. So it's got a slider band to move the pencil in and out. And this one has a fancier mount. It has a stirrup loop for the ring mount. So it has many details marked on this pencil case. And again, this is made by Morden. So it's got SM for Samson Morden. It has a hallmark, so it has the lion passant. It has the leopard's head for London. It has the date letter A for 1876. And it has at the end a profile of Queen Victoria. For some time, duty had to be paid on silver. And so if the duty had been paid, then the monarch's head was stamped on it. So that's what Queen Victoria's head is doing on the end there. So it was sold by a shop called Miles in Piccadilly, which was a very expensive place to shop. So they sold lots of expensive things. And this is to show the pencil with the sort of thread on it, which allows it to thread in. So this is just cutting, this thread is cut into the pencil, but you could buy pencils with a brass thread onto them. But this pencil I've shown because this early pencil has a square sectioned lead in it. Modern pencils generally have a round lead, but they were made like with a bit cut off and a square section of lead put in and a bit more stuck on. So
joint between the two parts of cedar is not down the middle.
no, you can see that it's not down the middle. Yes. Yeah, there was a bit of cedar with a groove and a square sectioned lead put in and a top put on with a flat joint.
All pencils at the time done that way?
In early times, all cedar pencils had square leads. Yep. Okay. So up at the top left, I saw this tatty old pencil. I better make it look nicer and put a new pencil in. But then when I took it out and saw the square section lead, I thought, no, I'll put it back again. Yeah. So Admiral Sir John Franklin Parry served the Royal Navy with distinction to become hydrographer to the Navy. So he lived from the 15th of August 1863 to the 21st of April 1926. And hydrography is the science that measures and describes the physical features of bodies of water and the adjacent land areas. So this is used to prepare charts. Today, the primary method of obtaining hydrographic details is by surveying with multi-beam echo sounders. Back in Parry's time, calibrated ropes were used to measure depths of things, the depth of the water, and accurate use of sextants allowed careful positioning things.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
So he would have used the pencil for notes.
Yep.
Right, and
Yep.
then taken it back to his desk and written it out in ink.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Back in his day, they would have used tapered lead weights, which have a hollowed out base, which they filled with tallow and would drop down onto the bottom and to see what the bottom of the sea was like, where the coastline was. So they might pick up sand or shells or silt or mud or weed or coral, etc. So in making their charts, because they needed to note what sort of seabed there was, they would use that sort of method. So that's what John Franklin Parry would have done in his hydrography work. Now, here are two pencils, not typical of my collection, because they were made in Philadelphia, and I'm mostly interested in English pencils. But these two were made to designs from the 1830s in Philadelphia in the US. So the silver one's engraved M.L. Bevan and the gold one, Elmira. And the engraving looks really similar. I think they could have been engraved by the same hand. So both use a quite unusual mechanism to extend the pencil. You give it a pull to extend it, a quarter turn, and you push it in again, and the nozzle comes out. And then if you want to get rid of it, you give it another pull, turn it the other direction, and push it in again, and it disappears. So here they are with sort of pulled out length. So there's writing on each one. The silver one says Stockman and Co. patent filler, and the bottom one says Lowndes patent Philadelphia.
Just like fountain pens, people like different ways of filling up.
Yes.
Pencils the same thing.
Yes. So so there they are with the nozzles extended. No, this one's gold, that one's silver. It'd be solid gold, probably 9 carat or something, gold casing around the outside. So what's on the outside is gold, but it may well have a different base metal construction inside, but it's not electroplate or something. So the gold one is made to Jacob Lowndes' patent of 1836, and it was American patent number 32, which is a really early patent number. Patent number 32. And the other one was from 1839, 3 years later, is patent number 1364. So the numbers quickly increased after that. So the gold one was patented by Jacob Lowndes, and the silver one was patented by George Simons, but he assigned the patent to Jacob Stockman and Samuel Hopper. And so that the patent for the silver one was described as an improvement on Lowndes' earlier patent. And there's a copy of the patent of the later one, patent 1364, dated October 12, 1839. Only that he references Lowndes in that. So here's my so it didn't show the cropped version. I cropped it. We'll see how it goes. It might look a bit out of shape. So you pull it out, twist it around and poke it in. And if you want to get rid of it, you pull it out, twist it the other way and push it in again. So both have similar mechanisms, but I think it's not really very strong and it didn't really last very long. So I'm very pleased to have an example of each of these two, which are so closely related. And yes, one's a bit more fragile than the other. But the thing is, oh, sorry, I meant to get back to, oh, sorry, I didn't show this before. So this is the terminal end, just the back end of them. One's plain metal and one's got a little stone set into it. Now, the pencils were engraved M.L. Bevan, and the other one was Elmira. Elmira is a lady's name, which is popular in America in the middle of the 19th century, and I haven't been able to identify which Elmira owned that pencil. I couldn't find an Elmira Bevan. I tried hard, really hard. But M.L. Bevan, I did find in Philadelphia at the time, Matthew Lawler Bevan. And Matthew Lawler Bevan was a Philadelphia businessman with interests in shipping, and he was active in the Central Presbyterian Church. So I haven't got a picture of Bevan or Elmira, but I did find a record of the Central Presbyterian Church, which mentioned Matthew L. Bevan as being a founding elder of this church. And so this plaque mentions that the church is listed as being at the southeast corner of 8th and Cherry Streets, Philadelphia. So I looked on Google Street View. I thought maybe I'd get a picture of the church. But I found an empty block being used as a car park. So I'm glad to have these two pencils because they were made in Pennsylvania.
So you found this certificate online?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, here's an ornate silver slider pencil. It's an English-made pencil, and it's got a an M nozzle. So the nozzles of these Victorian pencils have a specification as to what lead can go into them, and because different leads were made in different sizes. This one is M for just medium, so it's a medium softness of lead. It has applied leaf decoration to the slider ring and to the barrel front and up near the terminal as well. So it has an octagonal barrel. It has a terminal, again, set with a bloodstone. Perhaps the colour doesn't show up so well there.
Sorry, what was I call that piece at the back? A fin, what?
Oh, it could be a finial or a terminal. Perhaps a terminal is more accurate. But the seal at the end, which isn't engraved with anybody's initials here, this seal is made of bloodstone or heliotrope. It's like an agate that's dark green with some red flecks in it. Yeah, yes, it's very popular.
The seal is for sealing wax.
Yes, yes, but it's just blank at the moment. But if you had your initials in it, you could use it for that. So this pencil lead reserve has individually rifled reserves for individual leads to protect the precious leads, because they were very expensive back then. So that would keep the leads from bashing against each other and decrease the chances of them breaking. Okay. So this is the close-up of the nozzle, the M nozzle. And this pencil is engraved. I'm not sure how well you can see from there, but it's engraved around the barrel. J. McC to JMR, December 19th, 1867, Geelong, Victoria, Australia. Well, I've been unsuccessful in identifying either the giver or the receiver. I've been into the State Library to look at Geelong directories for 1858 and 1882, and there's huge numbers of people, but few are listed including their middle names or initials. And with there's so many J names like John and James and Joseph and Josiah and Jacob and all the others, that it's really hard to tie this down to anyone in particular. But I did find one John M. Roger of 8 Fyans Street, South Geelong in the 1858 directory. But there's so many JRs who might have the initial M, and so many. I'm not sure whether J. McC means the surname is McC, or whether his middle name's Mc something and his surname starts with a C. I don't know. But I haven't been able to identify these, but it's still a work in progress. I might get there yet.
On some of them, and you've got all of it.
Yeah.
And you've got so much information.
Yeah. So it has been suggested to me that because this pencil has the name of the town and the colony and Australia, that it might have been given to someone who was leaving the colony, perhaps going home. But I found it in Australia from a dealer who'd found it in Australia. So I don't think this pencil has left Australia. Further research is required. So this substantial ornate gold, silver pen and pencil shows many typical features of a Victorian pencil. So it has foliate engraving to the barrel, and it has floral slider buttons. So actually, you can see the button, so that you can see the nib there, and the button perhaps doesn't show as well as perhaps on side on. You can see the 2 slider buttons on the barrel there, and it has. Hang on, sorry, where did I get that? Yeah, so that's to show the button. But here, the seal on the terminal is engraved BGD, and it's engraved backwards, so that when you put it into your sealing wax, the letters show up the right way. And it has an unusual suspension ring around the barrel in the form of a belt and a buckle. Now, you can see the ring hanging off the belt and buckle there. And this belt and buckle idea was a decorative motif that was popular in the 19th century because of the symbolism of the never-ending loop being like eternal love and devotion going around and never ending. So this motif, this is illustrated here on this 19th century locket, where you can see the belt and the buckle making this endless loop. But of course, this locket is actually a pencil. But it's not engraved. This is just to illustrate the belt and buckle. So back to the subject. So this pencil, there's no doubt, it says, presented to B.G. Davies Esquire, MLA, by a few friends as a mark of respect, Melbourne, May 15th, 1871. So it's pretty simple to identify who this pencil belonged to. So.
That would be pretty expensive too, being gold.
Yes.
Wouldn't it?
Yes. You mean then or now? Both.
Oh, but even then.
Yes. Yes, it would have been. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is just a close-up. Because it's the barrel's round, it's been very hard to photograph the engraving on this pencil, I'm sorry. But that's a bit of where it says Melbourne, May 15th, 1871. And we can see a bit of a close-up of the slider button there. So, Benjamin George Davies, 1825 to 1891, arrived in Australia in about 1858 from Wales. And he was the member of the Legislative Assembly for Avoca from 1861 to 1880. So his obituary, which can normally be relied on to say good things about people, that was, where was it? In the Argus in Melbourne on Saturday, July 25th, 1891, mentioned, Mr. Davies was never a leading figure in politics. So, anyway, so soon after Benjamin Davies lost his seat in a vote, lost his seat in the Legislative Assembly in 1880, he was appointed to the position of Inspector of Railway Refreshment Rooms by the Minister of Railways, his mate, the Honourable Thomas Bent. So Tommy Bent is well known for being bent. Any politician will come under scrutiny from the press. And in November 1872, Davies was savaged by the Argus when he was the subject of a court case. There'd been some litigation and Davies had been ordered to pay £28, 10 shillings costs. But he didn't want to. And so his lawyer in court argued that Benjamin George Davies thought that his position as a parliamentarian, parliamentary privilege would excuse him from having to pay his debt and excuse him from having to turn up in court at all. Yeah. So, but I'm sure this man, Benjamin George Davies, definitely owned that pencil. Sorry, just turn the page. It did, I think it was the Sandhurst fort. What's Sandhurst? Is Sandhurst Ballarat direction? Port Melbourne. Ah, okay. Oh, Sandridge. Yeah. I thought Sandhurst was Ballarat.
Sandhurst, Ballarat area?
Or Bendigo. Yeah.
Not that far from Ballarat.
Okay.
Whatever his friends turn.
So here is a hexagonal silver slider pencil by S. Morden and Co. The barrel here again is perhaps not shown in this shot so well, but there's chased engraving and scrolls on the barrel. It has a hexagonal band to do the sliding up and down. And here you may see the letters VS on this nozzle because this is made for a larger, very soft lead. So here again, we have bloodstone in the terminal seal and lead storage underneath that.
The engraving on these pencils would have all been done by a silversmith or?
By hand, by a silversmith. Yeah. Yes.
Hand engraving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. So on one of the faces it says presented to Mr. Henry Walker. Actually, and I hope this will show up, but it might be hard to read from where you are. On alternating surfaces around this pen, it says, presented to Mr. Henry Walker by a few of his fellow workmen as a mark of esteem, 29th of April, 1871. And then perhaps on on some other surfaces. This is that's one surface that is presented to Mr. Henry Walker, and on one of the other surfaces, S. Mortar and Co. are listed as the maker of this one as well. Yeah, Morden was by far the biggest manufacturer. They made wonderful quality pencils, and in the late 19th century, in the way that nowadays people in England might talk about their Hoover or their Kleenex, they talked about a Morden. They called these things Mordens in the same sense. They were a huge part of the market. And there were plenty of other manufacturers, but the quality generally of the Mordens means that even now, they're quite good working examples. So, Henry Walker. Henry Walker, 1821 to 1900, was an industrialist and was born in Yorkshire and arrived in Melbourne in 1852. So he was a popular employer and was widely involved in the community. He was a member of the Collingwood Council from 1872 to 1894 and served 5 terms as mayor. And his mayoral portrait hangs in the Collingwood Town Hall, but it was painted by the noted Australian artist Tom Roberts. So here's the Tom. So I went to the town hall, I spoke to the staff, and they took me around and I got to look at the portrait and they let me take some photos. So this is Henry Walker. Perhaps I did look up some more. There's a great deal of information available about him, but one thing mentioned that in 1868 to 88, he owned and operated the Hobson's Bay Soap and Candle Works at West Melbourne. And with other industrialists, he was continually criticised for causing air and river pollution. But a royal commission in 1870 reported that he was less negligent than most others. Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to illustrate the point that not all 19th century pencils have bloodstone in their terminals, and some of them have amethyst or carnelian and moonstone and citrine, and some are just cut metal hobnail seals.
Used for seals.
Yeah, so sometimes they were engraved, but most of these, there might be something in this one, I'm not sure. But yes, I do have some pencils that have got engravings in the seals, but this is just to show a bit of variety in the seals of 19th century silver pencils. So I've been intrigued by the things I've found engraved on pencils, and I hope now that you can understand my interest in the enjoyment I've had and how seeing a name on a pencil, to me, doesn't detract from the value at all. Thank you.
Yeah.